Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab. It's 7 o'clock. It's Thursday. It's time for us to talk a little bit about WPblab stuff. And tonight we're going to be doing an encouraging speaking at your local WordCamp, or your WordPress meetup. Not WordCamp, your WordPress meetup. And before we introduce Jen, we're going to introduce ourselves. Bridget, tell us a little about yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Bridget Willard and I'm the marketing manager for GiveWP, the most robust online donation plugin for WordPress. It's full-featured, full-bodied, and savory, and you can find out more at givewp.com.
Dude, you changed it up.
I know. Take out robust. Take out robust. Started to sound cheesy. And I was like, well, I didn't pick that word.
Well,
so that sounds savory.
Now all these people that play the WPblab bingo are not going to be taking a drink when you say robust. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker. That's where you can find me over on Twitter. And my website is jasontucker.blog. I work at a church. I do a whole bunch of WordPress stuff, as well as IT directing and all those sorts of things that happen at that church. So feel free to go take a look at my website at jasontucker.blog. Jennifer, tell us about yourself.
My name is Jennifer Bourn. I am partner at Bourn Creative. We're a full-service design and development agency. I have a personal blog called Inspired Imperfection. That's just for fun. It's family travels and recipes and things like that. And a course called Profitable Project Plan, where I help other agencies streamline their client management systems.
That's awesome. You got a bunch of stuff going on. I like it.
I know, really.
That's cool. So let's talk a little bit about WordPress meetups. When did you start going to a WordPress meetup?
2013, I think. The Sacramento WordPress meetup existed for a little while before that, like 2011-ish.
Yeah.
Brian went to a few, but it was fledgling and it was kind of wonky. And so he's like, I think I'm good. So he didn't go to any for a while. And then Jake Goldman of 10up had moved to town and became a neighbor. And he was a kind of a champion of rebooting the WordPress meetup in Sacramento. So we started going when that got rebooted. And within a couple months, we were organizers, and now we run the whole shebang.
That's awesome. That's awesome. 2013. Okay, so I don't remember the exact year that. I want to say it was like 5 or 6 years ago. No, it has to be like 7 or 8 years ago, I guess. Then that I started going to Steve Zenget's meetup over in Huntington Beach, and that meetup was great. I mean, it's still great. It's amazing that you have folks that just show up and want to talk and want to just discuss all sorts of fun things. But like I was posting on Facebook earlier today regarding this particular episode, you know, these things move with whoever it is that's running the thing and wherever they go. And so later on the show, I'll kind of address some of those things and how Steve essentially built his business around the meetup, which is just crazy, but it's pretty awesome that he's able to pull that off. What about you, Bridget? When did you start going to meetups and getting involved in stuff?
So
we met at a meetup, right?
So I do everything backwards. And for a long time, people didn't know I was real because I like being on this side of the screen. And I like the control. I like the backspace button. I don't like my talking live. Like I would have backspaced and rewrote that. And I'm worse with people. And nobody believes me anymore because, I'm a personality on the WPwatercooler network or whatever. But I really hate any kind of social gathering at all of any shape or form. But I knew I wanted to change my career. And I knew I had to start going to meetups before I stopped getting invited. So one year I actually made a resolution, which I don't even believe in New Year's resolutions. And I started going to social media masterminds. And that's the meetup I met you at, Jason Tucker. I think that was 2014.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And it wasn't until I got this job in December of 2015. And January of 2016, I started going to WordPress meetups. But I've been going to WordCamp since 2013. And using WordPress.com since 2007.
Awesome.
Late bloomer.
Yeah, late bloomer. I was a year after WordPress came out that I started using it. So
I didn't start using WordPress till the end of 2008.
Oh wow! So they're just getting rid of
I'm
links.
after you.
They're starting to take stuff out of WordPress, and you're like, wait, but I just got used to using that. What's going on here? Where am I going to put my link roll now? Darn it!
Link rolls are cool. Blog rolls, those are awesome.
Blog rolls.
Yeah, but having all your
Do
links
people
in there.
still use those? I don't think so.
No, but if you want to join my web ring, you definitely can.
Web ring. It's called Facebook. It's called Facebook blog groups. It's basically the same behavior, the same behavior. But meetups, I mean, they're great. Like, and so my first experience at a meetup was with Bob Watson, and I know that Steve Zangit modeled Orange County after that. So I remember walking to the general meetup and I was late, and you walk in the front door and everybody's looking at you. It feels like you're late to 8th grade English class. It's humiliating. I remember I just sat down and you were there, and I didn't even talk to you, Jason, or get a selfie. I just left like a bat out of hell. I was like, I'm getting out of here. I think that I've gotten a little more obnoxious now and comfortable. Yeah. When I'm comfortable, I'm like super obnoxious. When I'm not comfortable, I'm just going to hide under a chair. Or behind the cheese plate.
Well, speaking about how Steve kind of modeled his meetup, I know that, you know, not all of our listeners or viewers have like been to Steve's meetup, but he meets in he meets in Huntington Beach. It's like walking distance practically from the water. So if you wanted to go out there and go take a look at that, you can definitely do that. But Steve kind of modeled his meetup off after the SMMOC meetup, which is the Social Media Masterminds meetup. And there's some things that Steve didn't transplant into his, like for instance, not using acronyms. He wanted to make sure.
Problem.
Define PHP, and every time somebody says it, you have to like define PHP would just be insane. But you have those sorts of things where you're trying to make sure that people understand. So no matter who you are and what you're doing or whatever, when you show up to the event, people are able to understand the types of things that you're talking about. And if you mention Snapchat in the social media place, if no one knows what Snapchat is, they just raise their hand up like, hey, I don't know what Snapchat is. Can you explain it to me? And somebody will sit there and explain it to you. So I think those types of things is what kind of help kind of foster that community and really bring those people in there, because you're kind of learning the things that they're doing, learning the things that other people have already learned, and they're kind of wanting to share that with other folks. And the other thing Bob did real quick, the other thing Bob did that I thought was really cool is that he kind of kept show notes during the thing by writing up on a board. So he would actually write every word, like buzzword type things, and circle around them and essentially build a mind map of all the stuff that's going on at that meetup. So I think those are the types of things that Steve looked at and said, I want to pull some of these pieces out and really run with it.
Yeah, for the general meetup, it's basically the same format, which is a facilitated discussion. So that's the key to me, because people have to participate in order for there to be an agenda. And so Bob will say, or Steve will say, what do you want to talk about? And whoever brings the questions, that fuels the content. And one of the great things about it is, because there isn't a presentation, people have to participate. And
see, I don't think our meetup would get off the ground if we did something like that. I don't think anybody would show up.
You never know.
Our community does not work like that.
Can you describe it then? How does that whole... how's the whole thing how's it ran?
So it's funny. I think every community has its own different nuances of how things are done, right? So for a while, when we first had rebooted the meetup and we were going, we had networking hour, like a networking time when we first got there for people to kind of connect and mingle and hang out. And then we had a speaker that would do a presentation, and then had some Q&A time and announcements and things or at the end. And we found that everybody would get there and sit down and turn on their computer and stare at the computer until the speaker would speak. And finally, someone was like, this is stupid. Like, why do we even have this time before? We should just get there and have the speaker, because then we didn't have to be here so early. And we found that people weren't networking and hanging out. They just wanted to come and listen to the talk, ask some questions at the end, and go home. And it was just kind of weird. So we got rid of the networking at the beginning and just went straight into, we started a half an hour later. went right into the speaker. And our community responded really, really well to that. And over the years, I think people have gotten more used to coming and chatting with people and things. But now we have a sponsor that we do pizza, you know, before the speaker or before whatever the topic or whatever we're doing. But still, people come in, they get a piece of pizza. They get a piece or a couple pieces of pizza, and they come in, grab a seat, and they sit there and wait for it to start. And I'm like, I try to greet every person that walks in and say hello. And is this your first time? How'd you find out? Why are you here? And sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get people to talk to me. So a facilitated discussion thing, I don't even know. We rotate formats. So we have 4 types of meetups that we do, and we rotate that 3 times a year. So we do a full talk where a speaker comes and does a full session talk, and it's usually development focused. And then we do a lightning talk night where we have 3 or 4 people all do a short talk. And then we do another full talk, which is usually content or design focused. And then we do a help night, like a happiness bar, hands-on co-working help night where new users, beginners can all come, bring their laptops and get help. And then we rotate that format 3 times a year. And those help nights are the biggest meetups of the whole entire year. We've got, I think, like 1,200 people in our, on our meetup list. And we get about 30 to 50 each meetup. But the makeup of the meetup, we've got maybe like 15 that come almost every time regardless, but the rest is drastically different based on topic. Drastically different based on topic. It's crazy.
Have you ever accidentally not had a topic and then didn't post it on the meetup? What was if that happened, what, or you just said, we're kind of going to do a free for all type thing. How many people show up then?
We have not ever done that.
I'm curious because there have been some times where at a meetup we're just like, we have no idea what we're going to talk about. Just show up and we'll figure it out.
We did a Ask Me Anything night one night when we didn't have a speaker, and we did a organizer Ask Me Anything. So the organizing panel for the meetup, the people that came all kind of sat on a panel and did an open Q&A for the night.
How was that received?
Lowest attendance ever.
Wow. So your folks definitely have an agenda. Like they definitely want to do the thing that they want to do, and they want to be able to learn about it. And then that's it. They
want to come, they want to learn, they want to go home.
Wow. Bridget, how many times have we stayed after our meetup for like 2 hours just sitting out in this like cold parking lot right next to the coast?
Every single time.
Every single time we're out there talking. And it's not just us. It's like it's like the movie just got out and we all stood outside and just talked about the movie for an hour.
So the thing is, our community skews introverted. So you do have to spend some time extracting that, and it's hard if it's only one person who's having to do that. Like with our Women Who WP, Jen Miller is a lot like you, Jennifer, where she's just like the really egregious, happy, gregarious personality in the room, But there's, a bunch of us kind of divide and conquer. We don't generally sit together. We try to make sure that we're sitting with other people that we don't know. We approach it like a sleeper cell. And I know that that's probably not the best terminology. We make sure we're building relationships with people that are not, necessarily our friends. It's not about us being friends with each other. It's about us building relationships with other people and facilitating those relationships with each other.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what we do with Women Who WP. But for the general meetup, I've seen it where it got really awkward, but Steve just he would not relent. He would go, okay, well, we could go to 22, whatever, some bar. And they go, well, actually, and then somebody would bravely raise their hand and say, I was wondering what you think about, well, maybe this is a dumb question. And he goes, no, there's no dumb questions. What is it? Well, can you use Gravity Force and Stripes? Oh, let's talk about that. That's great. And then everybody and their mom has opinions, because one thing you can count on it also with WordPress people, if you've been in advanced WordPress Facebook group or any blog on the internet that talks about WordPress or WordCamp submission feedback forms. I saw your tweet thread. WordPress people have opinions, lots and lots of opinions. So we know that they like to talk.
Yeah, and I think too, it's time getting comfortable. So, the longer, every month, I think people get a little bit more comfortable chatting. Like there are people that came to the meetup for months and never said a word, didn't engage, didn't, talk. Like we'd say hello, they'd say hello, and then they'd go and sit down. And now, after several months, it's like they start to engage a little bit more. They get a little bit more comfortable. It's these baby steps. And I think that's the most exciting thing for me in terms of being a meetup organizer, is seeing those people that come and at first they're really uncomfortable and they're really shy and they don't really know. And you kind of ask, you should do a lightning talk. And they're like, no. And then you really should. You can do it. I believe in you. Come on. And then they finally do. And they give one and they're nervous, but they do it. And everybody's super supportive and friendly. And everybody wants to see you succeed. I don't think that there's a better place to try your hand at speaking than a WordPress meetup. And they do it and are like, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Maybe I could do this again. Or maybe they think, maybe next year I'll apply to speak at WordCamp. I could get practice. And that's one of my most favorite things to see, is those people that go from that, they kind of make that transition. And I think, that's a really special thing to be a part of.
In Women Who WP, Jen, I'm the bouncer. So somebody's got to be the mother hen in this whole thing. So if somebody goes off topic too long, I'm known for doing this. I'll go, that is a great point. Would you like to speak on that next month?
Nice.
And they do.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
And then they speak at WordCamp. So that's already happened in the 15 months that we've been a meetup. But we put them on the spot because, we validated that, yes, this is accurate. No, this is not the time. You should totally talk on this. And then we hound them. Jen and I just keep sending them Facebook messages. Oh, you can't do next month. Could you do this date? How about this date? Oh, you need help brainstorming? Okay, I'll brainstorm with you. Oh, we don't need slides. Don't worry about slides. Oh, you want me to look at your talk? Sure. I'll proofread it for you. They'll call you, whatever. Actually, our speaker last night was like, you didn't give me your phone number. I'm like, I'm available for everything but smoke signals and, carrier pigeons. But yeah, here's my phone number.
Nice.
No, but it's also being that emotional support.
Yeah.
And what Kevin Hoffman said something to me that really impacted me. It just stays in my brain. And you had mentioned it earlier, Jen. And I think maybe we would be good as a community to keep reinforcing this, is that nobody is rooting for you to fail.
Yeah.
That's the difference between WordPress and everything else.
Well, and I think too, the thing is, it's for new people who are brand new to, maybe it's their first time at the meetup, or they've only been going for a few months, a few meetups, or they've never spoke before. And you see somebody I like to think that I'm kind of good at speaking, and I'll do a talk and then they measure themselves and they're like, well, I'm not going to sound like that. I shouldn't speak. And I think, the key for us has been, one, stepping back as organizers and saying, this community is not at all about us. And it's about the whole community, and getting as many other people other than us involved, and making sure that people know, I don't even care if you're a good speaker. All you have to have is accurate information.
Right.
Right? If your information is accurate and somebody's learning something, I don't care if you're reading your notes or you're reading your slides. Everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody,
you can even not be accurate and still get away with it. You can have.
Hi, Linky.
We like accurate information, so I'm gonna stick with you. It should be accurate. But even something as simple, like we tell our meetup all the time especially when we're soliciting lightning talks, even if all you have is you have a plugin that you like, just tell us about it. You don't even have to have slides. Open up a site, show us how it works and tell us about it and why you use it and why you like it. It doesn't even have to be complicated, but the idea is just getting comfortable and getting practice and understanding. And I think people realizing that it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, every single person has value to contribute to the community, because there's always, Brian used to say to me when I'd be like, I should go to the gym. He'd be like, look, there's always people that are going to be fatter than you, and there's always people that are going to be skinnier than you, right? And when it comes to anything, especially like WordPress or the Meetup, there's always going to be people that know more and always people that are going to know less, no matter what level you're at. So even if you think that you're too new or you don't have enough expertise, there's always going to be somebody that can learn something from you. So I think encouraging every person at every level and, really just reminding them that they have value and knowledge that benefits other people and getting them involved, is a really good place to start.
And not only that, but it's not about the personalities either. It's everybody's personality is the essence of their identity, and all of their identities are unique. We're all unique and we're all valuable in our own way. Like one of my coworkers was like, oh no, I'm going to have to conjure up your charisma. I'm like, no, you have your own charisma. And then I saw pictures of him giving his keynote and he had props. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could have been there. I was so proud, but that's the thing is like, you do you.
Yep.
Nobody else could do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen people show up at the meetups where they're scared to talk about this thing because, like I was trying to say before, I realized I had like 10% battery left on my laptop, and my wife had to come run in here and bail me out. So what ended up happening is I've seen people go, show up to the meetup and they're like, look, I don't know anything about this particular subject. I'm not a master at the subject matter, but I know enough that I can talk about it, and I would love to have your input. So can you teach me while I'm instructing you on how to use this thing and kind of fill in the gaps for me? And I've seen people actually pull that off where they just sit there and say like, I don't know anything about jQuery, nothing at all, but here's the types of things I'm trying to do with jQuery, and I'm stuck at this one spot right here. What do I do to make that happen? And then everybody just starts yelling out these different things in the room, like, try this, try that. And we've had somebody build a website just by yelling out a bunch of stuff to them and then, coming up with what the thing is and how to actually do it.
I don't know about React.
Nice.
I just know it's not going to be used in Gutenberg. Oh man, I couldn't resist.
Oh bad.
Oh, goodness.
So what
We
are
like to have fun on this show? We got to keep it light.
So what are the things that you've seen? I mean, it sounds like our meetups and your meetups are very, very different, but what are the things that you've seen that kind of keep the people or get the people to keep coming back? Like for a long time, the OC WordPress meetup had like a hashtag on Twitter, and everyone in the group used that hashtag whenever they had an achievement or something that they wanted to share or whatever. So they started pushing out the stuff with the OCWP hashtag, and that slowly but surely died out as like 900 other social networks came out, and everybody ended up on some Slack channel where they're talking to each other anyhow. So because of that, we kind of lost that community of being able to have those people interact that way. But like, what are those things those little tricks? I mean, for Bridget and I, it's like we essentially host dinner where it's like bring your own dinner, but we host it like come to this event and come hang out before the meetup. So what are the things that you guys are doing up there that kind of bring those folks coming back?
Well, one, I think free food is always
right, Bridget?
Free food is always a driver. So a lot of people come and they really enjoy that. So that's always a good driver. We have a Slack community for Sacramento. So a lot of people are active in there. They've got questions. We do announcements. all kinds of things like that through there. We use that to manage planning the meetups and WordCamp and everything like that. So people stay connected through Slack. And then we meet at a co-working space. So a lot of people will come in early and they'll work for a little bit before the meetup and things like that. The space is really amazing. And so they really, really like the space. But what we're trying to do is do more of kind of some more connections at the end of the meetup. So if you are looking to hire somebody, if you're looking for help with a project, if you've got something interesting you're doing with WordPress, if you've got a course you're teaching or something like that, to start sharing a lot of those things with the community and helping facilitate some of those connections. One of the things we did at WordCamp that was hugely popular was that facilitated networking session. And people have asked, can we do this at the meetup? So that may be something that we start working in every once in a while to the rotation of our meetup, to do facilitated networking where, clearly our community does not network on their own. Clearly they're not into mingling with strangers at the meetup. But a facilitated version, like with what we did at WordCamp, where we pop a slide up that says, these are the things that you're going to share. You have 60 seconds to share. We're going to move around the room and help people meet each other. I think that may help people make more deeper connections and more connections with people that they might not have known, and then start making more of that conversation during the pre-event happen. So I would love to see more people, make some deeper connections. And if we can do that through that, I'm all for it.
I love that idea. I never thought about putting something up on the screen and then saying, here's your prompt. I want you to answer these 5 questions, and you got 60 seconds to knock it out.
Yeah, I missed it. It looked like speed dating.
It kind of is. And it takes out any of that awkward, like, am I interrupting a conversation if I walk up? Like, I'm not sure what to say.
Or did the girls stay the same? How did it actually work? Who moved?
So to make it easy, we just said split up it. Preschoolers can do this super fast. Adults should be able to do it super fast too. Get in a group of 10. If there's more than 10, find a new group. Like, we don't have a lot of time, get it done. So people got into groups of 10 and each person had 60 seconds to share. And they went through, we want your name, why you're at WordCamp, your business, who you work with, what you do, and what would help you most today. Like, what, if you got one thing out of this, what would help you the most? Is it a referral, a connection, a certain kind of help? These are the things we want you to share. So people weren't left on their own to try to figure out what to say, or there was none of that. They just, this is what I say and I'm timed. Like, go. And I share and then you move on. Huh. And it worked really, really well. And when we did one round, then everybody had the chance to, change business cards if they wanted to or whatever. And then we said, okay, switch groups, find a group of 10 that you don't know that weren't in your existing group. And we sent them on their way to do that again. And then once everybody was kind of settled, we ran it again.
Wow, that's cool. You could almost even do that without having the moving around thing. Just have a prompt up on the screen that says, when you do your intro, Bridget, you're not allowed to say these things. You need to say this, 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 and this. And then every week or every month, just kind of change it out. I mean, that's genius. I think that's a really cool way of kind of, breaking it up a little bit, because essentially you hear people say like, hi, my name's Jason. I do podcasts and I do this and that, and I live here and I took forever to drive here because there's no freeways between here and there, and blah, blah, blah. And then that's it. And that's like, they all say that and you don't really hear what they're saying or anything other than you're just hearing like, she's saying the same thing that she always says. Oh, he's saying the same thing he always says.
We mixed it up with,
go ahead.
We mixed it up with Women Who WP, Jason. That's where we really changed it up. So at the end, we do our introduction. The speaker does their speech, blah, blah, blah. We're eating, chatting. You're in a U for one thing. You're not classroom style, which is not facilitate. It does not facilitate conversation anyway. So we're in a U at a restaurant. So that's one thing. So the body language is less like I'm in a class. But at the end, Jen started this thing where we go around and we say what we learned in WordPress the last 30 days. And it ended up being that thing where people go, oh, she's a graphic designer. And then that person goes and talks to that person because she needed a graphic designer. It also helped defeat imposter syndrome. We didn't even know that that's what it was doing. It's just everybody started realizing that everybody's learning. Because WordPress and everything about it is all self-taught. We're all always learning all the time. When somebody came last night and said, I just started last week. I just got my blog up. The whole room applauded.
Nice.
That's cool.
You know, so it fosters that, like, and everybody's somewhere, you know, and one person is like, well, what I learned was that, you know, some of my friends are really great WordCamp speakers. I didn't realize this, like, or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, but everybody has a chance to say what they're working on in an order. It goes in a circle so that nobody is left out and everybody knows that they have to do it every single week. In fact, sometimes I go, what did I learn? So I sat in an API class at Sacramento.
Did you know?
Yeah, I did. And then I checked with Josh and Roy on Twitter because Roy did the same thing to me, Jason. He goes, I go, you guys will be so proud of me. I'm in an API class at Sacramento. And so Roy said, and what did you learn? I learned APIs are a more efficient way of coding because code changes too much. Was I right? Josh is like, yep, I got good. I have something to share for Women of WP.
That's awesome. You know, I went to there was a local networking group I used to go to a long time ago that did they did something called the Great Tip Exchange, and they did it twice a year, and everybody came to the meetup with they had to come armed with some type of tip, a tool, a resource, something you liked, you know, something where you could share it with everybody else and they could, you know, make a note and go check it out or learn something from that. And I love that idea. And I would love to start incorporating that into our meetup as well, where everybody comes armed with something to share. And we usually say, have a backup in case somebody shares your thing before you.
Like karaoke. Oh, they picked my song.
Have a backup. But what would happen is people would come, you know, with a couple or two or three, and they would share, and you would walk away with this whole giant list of resources to go check out. So
love it.
My goal for 2018 is to incorporate the Great Tip Exchange.
That's awesome.
I love that idea. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's just another way to show everybody that every single person has got something to contribute and share. So I like that. That's my 2018 ad.
That's
that
cool.
and some better facilitated networking to make people talk to each other. Those two things.
Do you guys by chance live stream your event?
Mm-mm. Although we may start. We've got a guy named Jacob Henderson who's been coming to the meetup, and he's been super amazing. He did a lightning talk for the first time, and he was so nervous, and he did such a great job. And then got involved with WordCamp and did video and photography and stuff at WordCamp.
That's awesome.
And he's getting involved in like managing our videos for WordPress.tv. And at the last meetup, he said, you know, I've got all this video equipment and I could do that. And so we're kind of exploring what that might look like. So we're super excited, you know, for that to see where that might go.
Yeah, you should definitely do it. We've been doing it for quite a few years now, ever since I've been attending there after I figured out how to actually get it working. And a lot of people either depend on it, so they don't show up, which is a good and bad to any of this sort of thing. I'm essentially bringing the meetup to the house. So what ends up happening is what I do is it's kind of a lottery. It's kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to stream tonight or not. And I'm not going to advertise it.
Right.
So I may not. And there's sometimes where I'll listen to what they're going to say. They're like, oh, well, we're going to be talking about like things that, like very customer centric, very customer related type things. And it's like, you know what? Nobody but the people in this room need to hear that. I'm just not streaming tonight. Or it's something where it's like, you know, a nightmare type thing, or how did I get out of this? Or how did I kind of work? No, we're not talking about any of that stuff on the live stream. That's it. Because I don't want anybody to accidentally have this shared to their, you know, to their client or whatever and really kind of mess it up. The other thing that we do is when we do stream is we actually stream it onto our Facebook group itself, and that's it. It doesn't go to anything
closed.
Public. Yeah, it's a closed Facebook group. So what's nice about that is you're adding that little extra layer of here's how to talk in front of a camera. Yeah. Here's how you need to make sure the font's big enough up on the screen that you're zooming in and out, and you're kind of at least showing how things work. You know, you have these programmers that have a black background with gray text in their like text editor of choice, and you're like, dude, you can't read any of that 10 feet away from the screen. Like, make it bigger, or make it contrasty.
It doesn't matter how many times you tell speakers it needs to be giant. It needs to be high contrast. Like, zoom your screen in 18 times before you take that screenshot. They never, ever listen to you.
Yep.
And then you have these slides full of teeny code, and I'm like, I don't know what to do for you.
But it also makes you feel like you're part of it, though, Jason. I mean, I know I'm for the random reinforcement because I love behaviorism. And so that's awesome that you're doing that. I don't know if you knew that's what you're doing.
Nope, but I definitely know that's what I'm doing.
But at the same time, people know if they miss, they can watch it and they feel like they're part of it. Like one of the times I missed because I had to termite tenting, I was like, this is so awesome. Then I'm like, da-da-da. And so he says, oh, Bridget, I hear you. Or the vice versa. Usually it's vice versa because they'll go, Bridget, I hear you laughing. Oh, that was you. Oh, drink, because I said robust. So like they're playing at home, kind of like our chat is right now. And so it makes it feel even more community because everybody knows that they're part of it. It's cheers. It's everybody knows your name. You know?
Yep.
I like it.
So I definitely encourage you to live stream it, and it's for those two good reasons. One, just in case you didn't make it, you can actually watch it. But the other one is you're essentially preparing those people who you're already preparing anyhow for public speaking, and hoping that they're going to speak at a WordCamp, that they'll end up having to sit in front of a room as well as being recorded. That, you know, both for posterity as well as for like, you know, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that live in this room. Or I just pulled up my 1Password and just showed my password on the screen. How great is that? Yeah, I should have never done like those sorts of things. So you're preparing them to know how to interact with other people and be able to present, and not only present, but also have that live forever on the internet, as everything does on the internet.
Nice. I like it.
So keeping those people there, that I think that's the thing. What you're talking about, bringing in pizza and stuff. We do the same thing. It's like pizza seems to be the way to kind of keep people there. Except you have those people that walk in, they're like, actually, I'm gluten-free, tofu, this and that, da-da-da. And I'm like, you need to bring your own stuff,
That's
dude.
why we go to food court and restaurant. Right. But the thing is, like, I learned this. Look, I'm just going to say this because whatever. Okay, so a lot of the stuff
it's just us. It's not the internet. No one's hearing this but us.
Whatever. Like, I'm just sick of like censoring myself all the time, and I didn't drink. But so in the church life, you're doing all this community stuff. Okay, so I was the pastor's wife for 23 years. We had midweek Bible study, which is basically the same thing, a gathering after work. And what makes it easier for people to come? Having food. What do people always do at churches? They have food. What do they do at Bible studies? They have facilitated conversations. Like, it's all the same. The topic is totally different, obviously, but the behavior is the same. What works is the same. If we had childcare for our meetup, we would probably have more people.
It'd be like IKEA.
Sunday school.
It's like IKEA. You drop your kid off and then you go shop.
I mean, Jason comes with his 2 little boys because, you know, he has full custody of them.
Jason.
With the buzz cut.
Oh,
knockers.
Okay. Yeah.
He comes with Zeke and his, you know, because that's when they could do, you know, like we all have these issues with timing, logistics. It's not, you know, and sometimes it's just the commitment. You know what? A lot of people say, oh, it takes so long, traffic, whatever. And then I always say, well, it takes me an hour and a half. And I go 3 or 4 times a month.
Nobody can use the excuse, that's a long drive or it's busy with me. I'm like, I'm going to laugh in your face if you give me that excuse that you're not coming. But people up here in Sacramento, man, we don't have nearly the traffic we have down there, but they do not want to leave the suburbs and come to the meetup. They're like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's so long. I am not coming down there. And it's mind-boggling. I'm like, once a month, man. We're the first Tuesday of every month. One time. So I give huge kudos to all the people that show up every month. All the people that come out and they make it, and they decide to go, they RSVP, they show up, and they're learning and improving and being part of the community. And I think that's a big deal and something to recognize and commend, because there are a lot of people that they don't want to leave their Netflix and their cozy couch.
So I wonder, like, we've gotten a lot of new people, Jen, because of the news and events from 4.8. Are you getting a lot of new people there now?
Yes.
Wasn't that weird? Wasn't that weird when
it was all of a sudden? It was all of a sudden. We're like, we went from like, you know, 30-ish people or so at a meetup, you know, 40 people would RSVP, like 30 people would show up. And then all of a sudden I logged in, I'm like, oh my God, we have 80 people registered for this meetup. What the hell? Like, I had no idea. And we got there and they're like, and I'm, you know, like I said, I try to talk to every person that gets there. And I'm like, so what, you know, is this your first time? What brought you out? They're like, I saw the thing in my WordPress like my WordPress site that said there was something, and I had no idea there was something close to my house. We're like, that's amazing. And WordCamp was the same way, because we added our WordCamp into the Meetup site, and then just drove traffic back to the site. And we had a lot of people that RSVP'd that had no idea there was a WordCamp in Sacramento, but they saw it in that dashboard item. Wow. So our meetup has definitely grown because of that.
So I wonder if that will change, like the mix of people who are feeling confident and all that.
Well, I know from WordCamp, we have a huge community of beginners. That was probably the most surprising thing ever at WordCamp, was the
we had to move in the room, right?
We had to move them. We had them in the smallest of 3 rooms. There was 104 seats, and people were lining the floors. Wow. And so at the first break, we're like, we got to switch rooms. We moved them into a room with 176 seats, and it was still, every seat was full and people were sitting on the floor. So we definitely are going to be looking at that for next year and making sure we're really balancing our development content at the meetups with our beginner content and our user content at the meetups, to make sure that we're serving our community, you know, to the best of the ability. So making sure that we've got, you know, content for both of those audiences.
Yeah, it always trips me out to hear people say, when they're at a WordCamp, they say, what's a WordPress meetup? And when you're at a WordPress meetup, they say, what's a WordCamp? Like, how do they not know that these two things exist or don't exist? I
think far fewer people actually read the Meetup site, or the far fewer people actually pay attention to anything that you email them than you actually think.
Yeah, so it sounds like you just need to send them a one-word thing that just says, like, come, and then here's the number, or here's the address, or whatever, and that's it. Pizza, this, just do the whole thing in emojis, and you should be all right.
I'm going to try that.
Just write the entire thing in emoji.
Meetup.com, their emails aren't that great. I mean, we definitely had to have a Facebook group, and Jen and I work really hard at commenting on every single person's post and saying, oh my gosh, you know, like when we were meeting in her office, I was the door greeter, and then they had to go in the elevator, go to the conference hall. It was like kind of awkward. So it'd be like studying the avatars, and not everybody's avatar is like even recognizable.
They don't even look like that.
Or it's a bunch of realtors, right? It's a bunch of realtors that have never updated their photo, and then they show up and you're like, who are you?
And so we worked really hard at doing that greeting, like you said. But then we do all the after stuff too. We like make a big deal about commenting. It was good to see you, da 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 da. But still, people don't see it in their feed a lot of times. And we have a pretty good. We have about a 70% retention rate, so we have a pretty good rate. But you know, they're getting a dinner at Mimi's from DreamHost, and we work really hard. I mean, it's not
pizza. It's you know.
And it's not just, nice. It's Yvonne asked me, this lady that was sitting next to me last night, she goes, how do you have so much time for this? I'm like, well, my work supports it. My boss said I could spend 20% of my time volunteering if I want to. Like that's how much they're committed to it. And sometimes that's what it takes. And like Jen, how much time are you spending on your meetup? And Jason, how much time are you spending on your meetup? It's a crap load of time.
Yep.
It's a lot. I think people and people have no idea, because until you have volunteered, you have no idea how much of the free time I don't have that is being spent on that. Solely because we want to see this succeed for our community. We want to see, people learn and grow, and we want to see those connections be fostered. And that's my only frustration with being a WordCamp organizer or a meetup organizer, are the people that show up like 1 or 2 times and want to tell you all the things you're doing wrong and what you should be doing, and how much your meetup sucks. And I'm like, thanks so much. Interested in volunteering because you could change that? They're like, no.
Yeah.
So that's the only downside, because you get those people. We get those people every once in a while, but those are also the people that show up a couple times and then they don't show up anymore. Luckily, we've got a really, really kind of amazing community that it's been enjoyable. I think we look forward to it, every month. And I think, once a month for us is really good.
Yeah.
Do you have any competing meetups around you that are WordPress meetups, or are you the only game in town?
We're it. For a while, see, Brian and I live about 30 minutes up the freeway, like in Placer County. So there's a pretty good contingent of people in our meetup that live in Placer County, and they all complained about driving to Sacramento, and they all complained about the parking, and they all complained about everything. And they tried to get a Placer County WordPress meetup off the ground for a while, like back in 2014-ish, 2014, 2015. And they had another one. So I don't know what happened.
By chance, are you hearing Jen?
I'm not hearing Jen. Sorry, I muted because the dog started barking.
Yeah. It looks like she got stuck.
Oh, man. We're almost over too.
Well, if she can hear us, if she jumps off and jumps back on, that would work out. Maybe I should kick her. What do you think?
Yeah, 'cause she's gonna have to refresh either way.
Yeah, okay, I'll kick her.
So yeah, so I have some tips. I'll just keep going. I do like the way the facilitated works, because it does force people to talk, and the more people are comfortable talking, the better that is. We are kind of lucky in Orange County and Whittier, which we will keep in Orange County. So we have 6 meetups a month, because we have design, developer, business, Whittier general meetup, Women Who WP, all in the 3rd week, and then the general meetup at the 4th week. And the general meetup is the only one that's really kind of like super facilitated, right? I mean, okay. And so, but all the other ones have presenters, and so you kind of need that free night to have that. And I like it too that even at the developer meetup, which I go to every other month, they'll say, "Oh, you're having trouble? Let's just show it. Let's just troubleshoot it right now." I think it really shows that even people like David Jesh and Brandon Dove don't have all of the answers and don't fluently speak PHP, or they'll just say, "Oh, I'm going to look this up in the codex. I know it's there." Or like Roy Saban would say, "Oh, the Google foo," right? So, I mean, there's a lot of that, but I was thinking about my church analogy, and it kind of dies at outreach.
Yeah.
Don't do, and I'm on the marketing team for WordPress, but we don't really do that much outreach where we're going to, although we kind of partner a little bit with a Girl Develop It, we don't do a whole lot of outreach to get people to come to WordPress meetups. And I think besides that news and events widget at 4.8, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of that happens. And I wonder what that would even look like besides a grassroots effort of, I'm inviting my friend Karen, who is a realtor, and this is her first WordCamp, which we did.
Right. Right. Well,
yeah.
How would that work? I mean,
if we could like cross speak at other meetups or even college classes, like there was a time when we had 3 kids from UC Irvine who had just taken their computer engineering students, and they said they had just learned child theming, and they told them to go to a meetup, So I don't know, maybe stuff like that, but then we need to get it involved with the higher ed people. I don't know. I mean,
well, I know that Orange Coast College, which is like right up the street from Steve's meetup, that school, we've seen people come there. They'll go look up on meetup.com and they're like, oh, there's a WordPress thing. I should definitely go to the WordPress thing. But in terms of like inviting friends and kind of bringing, I mean, I try to do that at work. I'm like, hey, you do this sort of thing just like I do, so you need to come with me to this thing.
Yeah.
The previous place I worked at, it was the same type of thing. Hey, you do WordPress stuff, or you're going to be doing WordPress stuff after I quit and you take over my job. So Philip, you're coming with me, dude, and this is what it's going to be. You're just going to learn how to use this stuff. So there's a lot of those types of things where it's like, hey, you need to come to this event and need to kind of get involved in it. I think with people are flipping out in the chat where they were talking about like, what, you have that many meetups? It's like, if there's a day of the week that you're bored, you could look online real quick and be like, what WordPress meetup's happening today? And as long as it's not Saturday or Sunday, you should probably be able to pull off a WordPress meetup.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that the people, I think they've done a really good job at making friends. And I would suggest, because this is could derail, but it's also part of it. Making people feel comfortable is a hospitality issue. So don't sit with each other. If you're the meetup organizers, divide and conquer, make friends, find out what somebody knows. If you find out that so-and-so is really good at WPCLI, say, we haven't talked about WPCLI in a long time. Would you give this talk? And that's what we do, because a lot of times people won't volunteer. But Jen will say, Sam's been coming to Women Who WP. He does WPCLI. Let's just ask him to talk. And then he did. Amy comes all the time, and she's an expert at MailChimp. We'll just ask her to talk. Like sometimes it's more than waiting for them to volunteer. Sometimes it's recruiting too. That's what's been successful for us, for Women Who WP. I can't speak to anything else. I mean, because I'm not exactly sure how they recruit at the dev meetup or how you do it. But that's one thing I think helps. It's like going, okay, what's your thing? Okay, writing scripts. Jason, can you come and talk to us? Or like when we asked you, what's your thing? WordPress or nonprofits? Oh, can you talk to our group? Like, find out what people's specialties are and invite them. Actually invite them with a date, not sometime. Can you do it on August 21st? Can you do it on November 3rd? And nail them down. Now, we do that for this show, but we do it 2 days in advance if you're lucky.
But I think sometimes with good reason. Sometimes it's because of the fact that if you tell somebody too far in advance, not everyone is a ultra scheduler that will schedule their whole life out and have it all figured out. If you told me, hey, I want you to do a thing 3 months from now, I would go, well, I may be able to do that. Let me know the week ahead of time, and I'll be able to figure out if I can actually make that happen.
Right. But but that helps though.
Right. Yeah. That's true.
Instead of waiting for people to sign up, I think people aren't going to sign up. They're going to go, well, I don't really know. But I think if you take the time to go, hey, Adrian, you did this thing and you built this whatever. Can you talk? Sure, I'll do that. I could do that. Yeah, no problem. Like, they get all shy about it, but they get up there and they're not really shy because they know what they're doing because this is their job. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you better be an expert in your field if you're actually doing this type of work. It makes sense.
and even one time I remember Jacob got up there and they said, well, what are you learning? He goes, I just want to tell you what I'm learning. And he's a front end dev, so he's not maybe advanced in PHP, but he's advanced in front end. He got up there and said, well, I learned how to do X, Y, and Z. And he's going up there and the guys are going, well, what if you did this? Or what if you did that? And then live, they're going, oh, that could work. Oh, I see what you're doing. Oh, what is the strategic? Now everybody's learning, right? Yeah. And I love how we do that. And maybe we are spoiled that way, but I think making friends with people, not just your inner circle, finding a way to facilitate that conversation. So maybe the chairs aren't sitting classroom style. Asking people what they're working on. Mm-hmm. Like the women's Who WP is what you learn, but what are you working on? Like tell us your name and what you're working on. In an intro, that could work. Hi, my name is Jason Tucker. I'm working on robot scripts. Hi, my name is Bridget. I'm working on figuring out if I still want to blog or not. Like whatever it is, right?
Right.
But also, I maybe brainstorm and say, go to this. I want you guys to go this next WordCamp, and I want you to go back and think how you would give this talk. A lot of people go, oh, WordCamp, it's all stuff I've heard before, blah blah blah. And I always say, if you're not learning, you're not doing it right. And maybe you should go to a class that you don't already know. That's why I went to the API class. I'm not going to write an APIs. We got Devin and the whole team to do that. I just wanted to expose myself to something different, right? And sometimes you can learn from the way somebody teaches, and that helps too. Go, oh, I didn't think about bringing a basketball to a keynote. That's interesting.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Props. That's awesome. Yeah.
I know. It's sometimes being experimenting, and I'll never forget what Roy Savant said at WordCamp LA in 2015. Sometimes you have to leave WordPress and come back to make it better. And you could talk about things that aren't exactly WordPress. Talk about Twitter, talk about JavaScript, talk about MailChimp. It doesn't have to be, something that's in the codex. It just has to be something that's related.
Right. Yeah. Trying to think. One of the things that we've noticed, I know we only got a couple minutes left on the show here, and I'm hoping that Jen will be able to pop back on. She says she's working on it. One of the things I've noticed is that a lot of the times at the meetups, you'll have people that have these very specific tool sets that they use. They always have this like, I use this, and I use this, and I use this. And then a lot of the folks that don't use that never speak up. And so one of the things that we found at the Whittier WordPress meetup is that if you use something different, I would love it if you would stand up and like sell me on it. What's the thing that you're using? And they're like, oh, well, I actually use, we had this come up just recently. It was like, oh, well, I don't use Yoast. I actually use, whatever the other one is. I can't remember what it's called. But it's like, I use this other thing to do, Yoast type SEO stuff. We're like, wow, that's really interesting. Why do you do that? Well, because it does this and it does that. And they're talking about all these things. And we're like, wow, that's great. Would you be able to speak on that? He's like, yeah, sure. I could definitely speak about that. I'm like, okay, who else who's not using Gravity Forms in here? Who's not using this? Oh, yeah. Like
Forms, Caldera, WP Forms.
Right?
Like the shy hand comes out.
And the other thing I would suggest is if you're trying to find topics to talk about or be able to get people to talk on those topics, is to just flip the script on everything that you're doing and just go like right now I just rebuilt my whole website in Divi. Why? Because I want to know how to use Divi, not because I'm going to use Divi on every single project that I will have, but I want to know how Divi works, and I want to know how it works with, this type of website and that type of website. But the only way to really do it is to get in there and actually dig in and start learning how to do it. And so now I'm going to be like, okay, now I'm going to present on Divi. And I'm going to explain how this thing works and how it compares to Beaver Builder and how it compares to Visual Composer. And I've used all three of them. Now I can talk about all three of them instead of just going like, I don't use that, so it can't be good because I didn't choose that one. So those are the types of things that I would think if you're trying to bring in more people to talk, is to come up with those topics that you can pull people in and be like, hey, do you use this thing? Yes. You should come in here and talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, definitely. Because every subculture has their own preferences. Like our group sort of favors WP Engine, but some people are like, oh, I love Liquid Web. And we're like, we love the DreamHost guys. And like a lot of times when the talk gets negative and Women Who WP, I'm like, hey, we're sponsored by DreamHost, but we're host agnostic. Because Women Who WP is actually starting a new meetup in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and that's hosted by Pantheon. Thanks, Pantheon. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody can, there's enough love for everybody, right? And everybody has different needs. It's like the tools that you use are so specific. It's like a purse for a woman. I have a purse I'm going to bring to a wedding. I have a purse I bring to a WordCamp. I have a purse that I bring for normal. And when I go out to meet my friends at a bar, I don't have a purse at all. I have a wallet and my cell phone because I don't want to carry anything. You know what I'm saying? So whatever your workflow is or your frameworks or whatever your tools are, we need to hear all of that because we all have different needs too. You know, something Amy talked about last night, she was just saying something she learned from Yoast, the Yoast course. I was like, what a waste of time. But she said, I know, like I'm so negative, Nelly. But she goes, well, I learned that you should put the description in the excerpt and in the Yoast meta box. And I haven't been doing that because the excerpt is auto-generated, but I usually, see, it'll cut it off. But if you put it in the excerpt, then your blog archive page will look better because it'll be intentionally 155 characters. Right. And it's like such a, I could have had a V8 moment. So duh, like, how come we aren't all doing that? But guess what? Today, when I loaded up a post, that's what I did. You know what I'm saying? So like even things that we already know or we should have known, it's good to be reinforced. Reinforced learning is just as important as discovery. So there's nothing off the table. Everything's important. And what's more important, and I'm going to just use the last over 2 minutes that we're out on this to preach for one thing. The information is not what's important. What's important is developing and mentoring the people in our community, because there is no such thing as WordPress without the community, because WordPress is developed, maintained, and coded by a volunteer base. And without the volunteer base, without a healthy, thriving, economically, psychologically safe community, you will not have a good code base. They will leave for Ruby, they will leave for Python, they will leave for JavaScript. And the only thing that matters is the people. That's it. I'll sit there and listen to WordPress 101 over and over and over again if I knew that the people who were teaching were built up, encouraged, and stronger and stood up straighter in the room. Because the people are what matters. Love, Bridget.
Awesome, Bridget. Thank you very much for hanging out with us, Jen. I'm so sorry, Jen, that your whole house got disconnected from the internet. My apologies to hear that that happened, and that stinks. But
technology, blah.
Technology. So make sure you go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com and go take a look at that. Go hit the WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. That's where you can find out how you can subscribe to this and all the other stuff that goes on over there. If you want to find out stuff about Jen Bourn stuff, you can go over to Bourn Creative, BOURN creative.com. Go check a look at that. She also has another website called inspiredimperfection.com. Feel free to go take a look at that as well. And lastly, she does stuff over at the meetup.com site over at meetup.com/Sacramento-WordPress. So feel free to go take a look at all those things. Get involved in your local WordPress meetup. And if you're not getting involved with it, figure out something you can do for them and hopefully help out the community. That's about it, Bridget. You got any last final words?
Yeah. Why aren't you speaking, you WordPress Blab viewer?
Yeah, and if you do, let us know. We totally want to hear it, and post it in our little chat, share it on our Facebook group, do any of those sorts of things.
I double dog dare you to present your next WordPress meetup.
Definitely. All right, folks. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.